There is something you do hundreds of times a day without ever questioning it. You choose. You decide what to eat, what to say, whether to keep watching this video or click away. It feels entirely real. This sense that you are an agent, an I, standing at a crossroads and making a free choice. But what if that feeling is wrong? What if the crossroads is an illusion and you are always only going to walk down one path? Today I want to ask a question that unsettles the very ground we stand on. Do we even have free will? I'm not going to give you a clean answer. I'm going to open doors, look inside, and leave them open. Because the more honest you are with this question, the less certain everything becomes. Imagine a line of dominoes stretching back to the beginning of time. The first one was tipped, perhaps by the Big Bang, and every event since has been a cascade of cause and effect. Every leaf that falls, every lightning strike, every thought you've ever had. This is the deterministic picture of reality. The laws of physics are not suggestions, they are rules. At the macroscopic level, everything that happens is the inevitable result of what came before. And you, a physical being made of atoms obeying those same laws, are part of the chain. Your brain is a physical system. Neurons fire because prior neurons fired. Electrochemical signals follow pathways laid down by genetics and experience. There is no ghost in the machine, just a machine that feels like a ghost. If determinism is true, then your choice to click this video was set in motion long before you were born. The feeling that you could have chosen otherwise is just that, a feeling, a phantom. The chain of dominoes runs right through the center of your skull, and you are simply watching it fall. This is not a fringe idea. It follows directly from the kind of physics most of us accept, and yet, most of us cannot live as if it is true. We wake up and we choose, or at least we feel like we do. Let's move from physics to the brain. In the 1980s, a neuroscientist named Benjamin Libet conducted a famous experiment. He asked participants to flex their wrist whenever they felt like it, and to note the exact moment they became consciously aware of their decision. Meanwhile, he measured their brain activity. What he found was unsettling. The brain began preparing for the movement, a spike in electrical activity called the readiness potential, about half a second before the person was consciously aware of deciding. The brain decided first. The conscious I found out afterwards. Now, this experiment is still debated. Some argue the readiness potential is not a decision, just a kind of neural warming up. Others say the conscious mind can still veto the action at the last moment, a kind of free won't. But the direction of evidence is uncomfortable. It suggests that conscious awareness is not the driver of action, but the passenger, a narrator that tells the story after the engine has already turned. You feel like you author your thoughts, but have you ever noticed that thoughts just appear? You don't decide to think a thought before you think it. It arises from somewhere dark and wordless, and then you claim it as yours. Even now, these words, where did they come from before you heard them in your mind? You might say, I chose them, but when you look closer, the choice seems to have made itself. And yet you feel free. That feeling is undeniable. It is perhaps the most powerful subjective experience there is. You are not a passive observer of your own life. You weigh options, you wrestle with dilemmas, you change your mind at the last second. The experience of choosing is rich and immediate and real. So here's the question. If the feeling of freedom exists, does it matter whether it corresponds to a physical reality? Could the sensation of free will be valuable and meaningful even if, underneath, the universe is running its inevitable script? Think about pain. Pain is also a sensation. We know that pain is caused by nerve signals and brain chemistry, but that knowledge does not make pain feel any less real. We still recoil from it. It still matters. Maybe free will is the same. Maybe it's a felt experience that we cannot and should not explain away, even if we understand the mechanics behind it. The philosopher Saul Smilansky argues that we should believe in free will even if it's an illusion, because a society that truly internalized determinism would lose something essential. We would stop striving. We would stop blaming. We might stop caring. The illusion, he says, is worth preserving. Not everyone agrees that free will and determinism are enemies. There is a middle ground called compatibilism, and it has been defended by some of the sharpest minds in philosophy. Compatibilists say we've been asking the wrong question. The opposite of free will is not determinism. The opposite of free will is coercion. You are free as long as you can act according to your own desires and beliefs, without someone else forcing your hand. Yes, your desires are caused by your brain and your past, but they're still your desires, and acting from them is what freedom means. In this view, a person who chooses to give to charity is free, even if their generosity was shaped by their upbringing and their brain chemistry. A prisoner in chains is not free, because an external force is overriding their will. The difference is not about breaking the laws of physics, it is about whether you are the source of your own actions, even if you are a determined system. You might find this satisfying. You might find it a cop-out. It depends on whether you think true freedom requires the ability to have done otherwise in exactly the same circumstances. A thing compatibilism cannot give you. If free will is an illusion, what happens to morality? What happens to blame, punishment, and justice? If a person commits a terrible act, and their brain was always going to commit that act given their genes, their childhood, and their circumstances, as well as the laws of physics, can we truly say they deserve to suffer for it? We might still need to separate them from society to keep others safe, but the word deserve starts to sound hollow. Nobody deserves their biology. Nobody chose their parents or their upbringing. Some thinkers, like Robert Spolowski, have argued that this understanding should radically transform our justice system. We should move from punishment to rehabilitation, from blame to understanding. The criminal will be seen not as evil, but as broken, a product of forces no one controls, and we, looking at them, would have to face the uncomfortable truth. There, before the accident of a different brain and a different past, go I. The challenge is that this view is almost impossible to hold emotionally. When someone hurts us, we feel rage. We want them to suffer. That instinct is deep and ancient. Can reason overcome it? Maybe. Maybe not. Let's step back from the abyss for a moment. Suppose you accept that free will in the traditional sense is hard to defend. What do you do tomorrow morning? How do you live? One answer is that you live exactly as you did before, because you have no choice but to feel like you're choosing. The illusion is that strong. You will still decide what to eat, you will still wrestle with difficult decisions, you will still fall in love and feel the vertigo of a leap into the unknown. The determinism that may run underneath changes none of that. Another answer is that you live with slightly more compassion. If you hold determinism loosely in your mind, you might find it easier to forgive. You might see the difficult people in your life not as villains, but as dominoes, falling just as they were pushed. You might extend that same gentleness to yourself. You were always doing the best you could with the brain you were given. The inner critic would soften. But a third answer is darker. You might feel hollowed out. If your choices aren't yours, what's the point? If the future is already written, why try? This is the existential risk of peering too deeply into this question. Some people bounce off it and return to life unchanged. Others fall in. So, do we have free will? Of open doors, the deterministic universe, where every thought is a domino in a chain that started billions of years ago. The neuroscience, where your brain acts before you know you've decided. The feeling of freedom, which is so vivid that it might be worth preserving, even if it is illusion. The compatibilist middle ground, which redefines freedom as acting on your own desires, regardless of their cause. The problem of moral responsibility, which asks whether anyone truly deserves anything. And the pragmatic question of how to live with whatever the truth might be. I have not given you an answer. I'm not sure there is one. Or rather, I'm not sure the answer matters as much as the act of asking. Maybe free will is real in the only way that counts, inside your own human experience. Maybe it's a beautiful trick the universe plays on itself, a necessary fiction that allows life to feel like it matters. Or maybe you are a pattern in the domino chain, and the only liberation is to watch the falling and call it yours. I don't know, and I'm not sure anyone does. What I do know is that you're still here, still thinking, still feeling like you could leave or stay. And that feeling, however explained, is still yours. For now, perhaps that's enough. I invite each and every single one of you to tell me if you think free will is genuinely real or if it's just an illusion your mind plays on you in the comments. And as always, I humbly ask you to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks and goodbye.